And welcome to the game. We're going to be having an epic series between ThisisJimmy and VPJemag. First spawning over here as the purple Terran on the map, Xel'Naga Caverns is going to be ThisisJimmy. And spawning over here to the north as the pink colored Protoss is going to be VPJemag. And I cannot wait for this series, hand. This should be absolutely amazing. My co-caster and ally in casting, Hand from Above, joining us today.
Yeah, what's up, guys? I'm here, ready to rock and roll. I've seen Jimmy actually play before. I've actually casted one of his games when he played Cry, so...
Yeah, absolutely excellent player is ThisisJimmy. Actually has gotten pretty far in a couple of the MLG tournaments, I do believe. So,
yes.
No slouch.
Definitely up, but JMag is not either. I love my French-Canadian friend here. He is a fun guy to talk to, and of course a fun guy to watch. So, I mean, really, this should prove to be pretty epic between the two of them.
Yep, and obviously everybody probably knows who JMag is. Former guest a lot of times on Mr. Bitter streams when he was doing the 12 weeks with the pro stuff. And all-around cool guy, and he's been part of VP for a couple of months now. And this should be a very good game. This is coming from the VP Gamers versus Check 6 Clan War that just happened this past evening. So absolutely excellent game so far that we have seen in the past in this Clan War, and this game should be just as good. We have ThisisJimmy gearing up here to do a little bit of some teching. Pretty standard stuff though from the Terran and Protoss players at this point in time. No special tactics, as White Rob would put it, happening just.
Oh, come on! I love those stuff. They make me laugh and giggle.
You have to do special tactic. My White Rob impression is probably terrible, but you know, you go with what you got.
Yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do. Like my Overlord impression. Come on.
So we do see Cybercore on the way for JMag. Probably going to be getting that first stalker out as soon as possible. Does have a Zealot on the way, chasing this SCV around in futility, if anything. Do have that first Marine out for ThisisJimmy so he can really get his build underway, decide what he is going to actually end up doing. We do see that a second Marine's coming out. Now ThisisJimmy looks like he's getting ready, and he is going to be putting out a factory, so we'll have to wait and see what he's going to do after this. Has not taken a second gas yet, so might not be going for any kind of a Banshee play. Might be actually going for Hellions, or maybe straight into some kind of tanks or something like that. But he is going to be getting a bunker at the front. So it's definitely going to look like a Banshee play at this point in time. But without that second gas, I can't imagine him actually deciding to go Banshees.
No, I really don't think without the second gas, the Banshees would be in the cards. But I think he wants to fool JMag for a while. So JMag maybe goes, the heavy stalker, or maybe he has him throw down a Forge or a Robo for protection.
Well, just as I say that, Hand, he is throwing down that second refinery now, so he definitely could potentially be going for a Banshee play. Maybe not jumping on Cloak Raider. We'll have to wait and see what he does say. Dude does have that bunker at the front, which is pretty characteristic of a Banshee type of play in the early stages of the game. Is getting a reactor on that first barracks. Also somewhat indicative of what would normally be a Banshee play, but we do see he is moving this factory in a position where he could swap it, but nope, not going to swap it. There goes on the starport, probably going to be adding the tech lab to the factory. Yep, so he is going to definitely be going Banshees. Just a little bit of a delay on the gas, so maybe just kind of working out, his style of that build. A little bit later gas than I typically expect for a Banshee play, but definitely should end up panning out for ThisisJimmy quite nicely, although he's going to be careful not to get supply block, but does get that supply depot done just in time. Meanwhile, JMag does have up his first two initial gateways, and now has a probe just kind of hanging out over here like he wants to expand, definitely has the minerals to expand. So it looks like JMag might be trying to go 2 gateways into an expand type of play, and yes, he does actually put down that Nexus, so 2 gate into expand, so JMag actually taking a little bit of a risk in the early game, going for the economic play, and this could actually end up panning out for him kind of decently, because JMag, until these Banshees pop, isn't going to actually really have a whole lot of damage potential here. So we do see a tech lab getting added to this factory rather quickly, so it's going to be interesting to see what he actually does with that factory there. But does have Banshees on the way, has not started Cloak yet, so just going for a single Banshee all on its lonesome. JMag in the meantime pushing forward with these first couple of forces that he did build off of those 2 gateways and getting up his expansion behind us. So JMag actually not looking in a terrible position right now, but definitely going to need something to deal with these Banshees over there at his base in the not too distant future. But no Cloak could play out absolutely huge for JMag is going to see if there is a bunker over here at the front of This Is Jimmy's base, and it looks like JMag's just going to retreat back over to his base. Does have that expansion coming up extremely soon. A couple of zealots that were rallied forward now backing up. Does have that probe hanging out on the Zelnite watchtower. That base just now finishing up, and a robotics bay on the way, so going 2 gates into expand into a robotics bay. Probably going to actually have that out long before This Is Jimmy could even think of getting Cloak, and honestly, I don't even think he's going to be going for it at this point.
No, I think the robotics bay was actually a reaction to
it needs to be careful, because the Banshee might get picked off, taking a couple of shots from the Stalkers as it was just moving across the map. That scouting SCV now does get picked off, and this Banshee attempt by Jimmy is pretty much completely thwarted. This is looking absolutely perfect for JMag, as we do see right now tanks getting produced by This Is Jimmy, so he's going to be going kind of tank marine Banshee. I'm assuming going for some kind of a 1-base push here, because I really can't see This Is Jimmy being able to macro his way out of the situation. If we look at the income tab, he is not that far behind in harvesters, 31 to the 27 that he has. But JMag already has this expansion up, is starting to get it underway. Has some observers on the way as well to deal with any kind of more Banshee harass that This Is Jimmy could do. So I think he's just going to be doing a straight Marine tank push with some Banshee support here off of 1 base. I do not see any kind of signs that he is going to be going for any kind of an expansion anytime soon.
No, not at all. There's definitely not. He's stopped his pro production. He's not. This is pretty much a 1 base all in, and yeah, JMag, it's going to be JMag's job now to defend it. If he defends this is GG. You're not coming back from this one.
And a bunch of SCVs actually be coming with this attack as well. It looks like about 5 SCVs with this attack. Look at the second page there. Actually, no, it's actually about 9 SCVs. So a ton of SCVs coming with this, trying to repair the units. JMag needs to get out a lot of units and needs to get them out quickly. Does have these 2-second gateways just now finishing up so that he can try and produce some more units. Now even chrono boosting out some Immortals to try and support his army. It looks like JMag's going to be pushing forward. Wants to maybe consider trying to catch This Is Jimmy's army out in the open. He actually does, and actually gets out some very good force fields. Manages to trap those tanks and actually picks one of them off before Consiege. Gets the second tank as well before Consiege up. Now might even get this third tank. Yes, does get the third tank as well, but those Banshees and those Marines still ever present on the map. It's going to need to get out some more Stalkers. Chrono boosted out this Immortal, but this Immortal actually not going to be too useful against the Marines and Banshees that are left over. Now going to put down some bunkers over here and laying siege to the expansion of JMag. JMag's going to have to get something done here, and he's going to have to get it done fast. Needs to try and pick off these Marines if at all possible. Does manage to pick off a couple of Marines, but now getting very light on Stalker numbers. Second Immortal is out now. The Immortal can take a lot of damage, but is going to need to hold this. If he can hold this, he will probably actually be able to win this. Pulling a couple of probes now to help battle the Marines of Jimmy, and I think JMag might actually just barely hold this. We'll have to wait and see. Needs to keep enough Stalkers alive to actually pick off the Banshees, and actually does manage to thwart this attack by This Is Jimmy. If we look at the income tab, he did lose a little bit of Harvesters. Actually losing another one right now there, but does still retain this base. Managed to keep it up and active. 25 Harvesters for JMag to the 20 of Jimmy. Jimmy, though, with no expansion just yet. As you can see, he is still just...
Well, he's not even building anything. I'm sorry, but he really doesn't have much of anything. He's got, what, 2 Banshees, maybe a handful of Marines, and a tank?
Yeah, this is definitely not the position Jimmy wanted to be in. That was definitely a pretty 1-base, all-inish type of push. But survived with just enough forces that he's going to stabilize long enough that he's not quite dead just yet. I mean, he did get some damage done there to JMag. He managed to kill some probes. JMag was forced to quite a few probes off of his mineral line to actually defend that push. But now JMag does have 4 warp gates up. He's got that robotics bay down. Chrono boosting out more probes to replace his probe counts. If you look at the income tab, we can see it is 34 Harvesters to the 23 of This Is Jimmy. So the big thing is here is that the longer JMag can sit here while This Is Jimmy tries to build up a secondary force to attack, as you see him pulling some SCVs once again, the longer that JMag is going to have to be able to reinforce his position, reinforce his economy, and get so far ahead that he will have an even stronger force to hold off the second push. As we do see now, he is warping some more units. He's got 3 Immortals now, a couple of Stalkers, couple of zealots. Needs to get some more units in, though, if he is going to actually hold this push. I do not know if he even knows this push is coming. There is an observer out the front there, so I do believe he knows that this push is coming. He's going to be moving forward. Looks like he's going to try and get into a good position to actually engage this army. And if J-Mag can crush this army once again, this could definitely be GG. Needs to be careful. He does not want to lose these Stalkers. The Stalkers are the only
No, he's got these Immortals. Look at the Immortals.
Yep, Immortals laying absolute waste to those tanks. Just needs to pick off that last Banshee, and any threat of ThisisJimmy being able to actually make anything happen with this push will be completely thwarted. And yes, indeed, is going to clean up this second push once again, and I think ThisisJimmy's basically dead in the water at this point. He's trying to reinforce more units over here to the front, but still no expansion from ThisisJimmy. I mean, he's just basically trying to go all in with this push until he mines out on his base.
Well, that's great. I mean, mine out. I mean, look at it. I mean, J-Mag's dropping the robotics bay.
Yep,
I mean,
we do have that robotics bay going down, so we will be able to move into Colossus. I mean, at this point, J-Mag is just slowly pulling further and further ahead. We look at the economy, it's now 44 to 21 harvesters. ThisisJimmy's throwing away a couple of harvesters with every single attack. Not that he can actually really utilize them with so many harvesters over here at his main, but nearly mined out already in his main. Just 40 minerals remaining on one of the patches, down to 200 on a few of them. So this is definitely going to be the last push ThisisJimmy's going to be able to do. So definitely just basically going into a series of one-base all-in pushes to try and get something done. Here comes a Banshee. No cloak, though, so this should be easily clean-upable by J-Mag. But J-Mag actually a little bit out of position. Had retreated, or had started to push out to go and attack ThisisJimmy, but now he warps in a couple more Stalkers, and that Banshee is easily pushed away and just barely survives with 40 hit points, but in the red. But J-Mag's force is getting absolutely huge now, as we do see that it is 88 supplies to just the 44 of ThisisJimmy, and ThisisJimmy now, I can only imagine gearing up to do what's going to end up being his last push. Now losing quite a bit of economy as the mineral patches do start to mine out. Trying to build as many forces as he humanly possibly can off of this one base, but even getting a little bit behind and actually using up his minerals at this point. So, I mean, this is going to be definitely going to be at hand, and I cannot see ThisisJimmy taking this first game.
No, I don't see this happening at all. I see this as a dead in the water. J-Mag's just licking his lips like a shark, ready to go. I mean, what else do you do? I mean, okay, I have a spotter, my observer down there, and oh, here comes ThisisJimmy again. You know, I mean, it's like, great, another one base. All right, dude, I have more units than you.
Yeah, ThisisJimmy's going to be pushing out with a few more units than he did the last time, still bringing about the same amount of SCVs. If we look at the income tab, we actually see his 21 harvesters, the 51 of J-Mag, but the biggest difference in this push is going to be J-Mag's force has grown so much larger. He's got a ton of energy on these sentries to throw down force fields. I just can't see this working out for ThisisJimmy, but this is definitely going to be ThisisJimmy's last push. See, he is nearly mined out over there in his main, trying to position himself as such to take on these forces. But, I mean, J-Mag really doesn't even need to push into this. All J-Mag has to do is sit around, hang out, keep building up his forces, and there's not going to be much ThisisJimmy can do, because ThisisJimmy is not going to be able to keep reinforcing forever, as he is now just about mined out over here at his main. So this is basically all or nothing. Now moving forward, trying to pick off one of the Immortals, just about picks it off, down to 19 hit points. It looks like ThisisJimmy's going to be trying to do a slow tank push here. But this is definitely going to be ThisisJimmy's last attempt to push. He's trying to reinforce with whatever he can, but running extremely low on minerals in his main. Has pretty much mined himself out. Now trying to get in a good position to deal with J-Mag, but J-Mag now has a Colossus on the way. And here comes Mr. Colossus. Does have Thermal Lance, so he does have that 9 range with the Colossus, which means he is going to be able to push forward. He's going to be able to take out these Marines. He's going to take out any forward tanks. This is not going to go so well for ThisisJimmy. And interestingly enough, those Banshees serving as spotting, and ThisisJimmy's now going to push forward. This might be the mistake that J-Mag was waiting for Jimmy to actually finally push into his forces, rather than doing that slow tank push. Colossus absolutely obliterating Marines left and right. J-Mag just reinforcing units as this attack happens. Has no way to actually snipe out this Colossus except for maybe those Banshees. So J-Mag's just going to do a little bit of attack, whittle down the forces of ThisisJimmy, back up once again, reinforce some more. Second Colossus now out. Can reinforce with some gateway units if he so chooses. Now going to move forward with this Colossus, trying to pick off a couple of those Marines. Here comes the Stalkers to try and pick off the Banshees. Now, ThisisJimmy is attacking J-Mag's natural and is starting to do some damage to it, but I can't help but keep pointing out the fact that ThisisJimmy has absolutely no backup plan behind this. This is all or nothing. All J-Mag needs to do is hold this push, crush the forces of ThisisJimmy, and it is going to be game over, because ThisisJimmy is not going to be able to reinforce this.
No, and two Colossus definitely will take care of this with thermal.
Yep, even more gateway units and gateways getting added now. Here comes the Zealous now to tank a lot of the tank shots. Colossus is going to be moving forward. Stalker's moving up, going to easily pick off these last couple of Banshees. Down goes the Banshees, and now here goes the rest of the forces of ThisisJimmy just dwindling away. And JMag is going to have this, and ThisisJimmy is going to be forced to GG out. And JMag takes game number 1. Absolutely excellently played game by JMag. ThisisJimmy went for the one base all-in. Couldn't quite pull it off. And now we're going to be moving into game number 2 with VP Gamers JMag up 1-0. We will see you guys at that game in just